Hello, my friend. Welcome to another episode of Harmonic Habits. My name is Amy Thomson, and I am here with Dino Miele. I met him recently at a Niagara tourism networking meeting, and I found out that he is an innovator. He loves working with entrepreneurs. He loves connecting people, working with students, and building their dreams. Like I like helping people build their dreams. So it was a natural fit for us to meet and become friends. Dino, I would love it if you introduced yourself and told us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So thank you for that kind introduction. As you said, I've been working, my name is Dino Miele. I've been working in technology for 38 years of my life. And the last 5 years, I've been doing a passion project with innovation, helping young entrepreneurs and what I call senior entrepreneurs look at their passion projects and see how I can help them scale their business with the experience that I have in several areas, which is entrepreneurship, technology, and of course, using social interaction, making sure that we all have a balanced work-life balance.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. And you and I are so aligned in that area. Do you work strictly with people in Niagara or do you work with other people? And I'm only asking this because I host the Creative Collaboration Summit every month, which is about helping people's dreams and goals come together. And you may be a perfect resource for that.
Oh, thank you for saying that. I don't just do Niagara. I do the full pan-Canadian, and we do have partnerships here at the Innovation Hub with Europe and, of course, worldwide. So, but generally, mostly they're Canadian companies. 90% of them are from Canada, 10% are international.
Nice. So that's definitely something we'll have to talk about after this, but I just wanted to ask. So Dino, what is it that got you into the business that you're doing and technology in the first place?
Okay, I want to go back into a bit of history. Is that, believe it or not, I was born as the baby boomer generation. So we had these things called an antenna, which were rabbit ears. And I used to watch all the cool sci-fi movies and cartoons. And what I was passionate about was, how did they get this picture on a screen? Where is this coming from? And so that curiosity, it stayed with me through my elementary school years, into my secondary. And sooner or later, I found out that I think I like electronics. I like technology. So I went to Niagara College here locally, took the 2-year program of technician. Then I added the technologist diploma and went right into the workforce, working for the cable TV company. So because it was my passion was telecommunications and electronics. And then I got the bug for this thing called a computer. It was coming, microcomputer. So being who I wasn't afraid to take a chance and joined a team and created the first micro-H store at 1 St. Paul Street in St. Catharines, which was really adventurous of us because the mainframe was still number one. It was still the god of computers. And we were trying to break the glass ceiling saying, this PC is much more important than the mainframe. We know it's coming.
Okay, I got a question for you. Like, what year was that? Because I don't even know. I think I was a bit later than other people to even adopt computers, you know?
Yeah. So the 82 to 84 was my stint with micro-H computers.
Okay, good. Yeah, I definitely wouldn't have known then. Okay, so and how big was your micro computer? Like I think about micro stuff now, and then I think about how micro was then, and weren't they huge? Like, wasn't the first computer like so big? And
the
then
monitors were heavy, the keyboards were large, the mouse was big. There wasn't that many mice, as they call it that way. It hadn't been perfected yet until, Steve Jobs went to see the folks over at, basically he went to see a monitor and he looked at this Xerox thing and said, what's that thing down there? And they said, that's just a mouse. Don't look at it. He didn't care about the monitor. He wanted to know about the mouse. So.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And then, so they were big. They were heavy. And even the portables or transportables, we call them, were like a suitcase.
Yeah. Have you ever seen Umbrella Academy? Because when you just were talking about the computer and the suitcase, it reminded me of.
No, I'll have to look
Oh,
into that.
it's one of my favorite shows on Netflix. It's
Okay,
pretty
I'll
fun.
have to look into that.
Yeah. So as for technology now, do you find, because things have changed so much over the years, do you find that you've been able to keep up with it? Do you find it's going faster than your interest is, or do you just have like other
You
people do
have
stuff
to.
too?
It is fast. Yeah, it's approaching quickly. It's something. It's no different. I'm not saying that we're like the medical industry or agriculture. Everything now changes very quickly. There's going to be adoption that's even faster with technology. Everyone's probably heard of a thing called the Internet of Things, smart cities. Everything we do now is on a handheld device. Like think about, it's almost like a Buck Rogers for my generation. It could never happen. It's sci-fi.
That's
So it will
awesome.
go even faster with all of the nanotechnology and biotechnology that's coming in the next 5 to 10 years.
That is awesome. Do you mind if I show a couple pictures? Because I know that you were talking about your generation and your time, and I know you recently had a birthday. I'm not sure when it was exactly, but I wanted to show some birthday party pictures. Do you mind?
Oh, great. Thanks.
Okay.
Oh,
So when was this?
that was when I turned 60 5 years ago. And I'm turning 65 July 1st in the next month or so.
Woohoo!
And those are our daughters and our sons. Um, Two of them live in the US, two of them in Canada, and the other two boys live at home with us. And they don't want to leave, which I'm happy.
I know there's something like that feels so nice about having the kids around, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And I know, don't get me wrong, for parents who are watching this and you're like, oh no, I can't wait for my kids to leave. We've all had those times too. So it's
yeah.
not like you're alone in that. Yeah. Very cool. Very cool.
But
So
it's funny that you said that. I come from a generation that may sound really silly. In Italy, everybody lived at home with your parents, anyways. Like we stayed till we were 40 sometimes. And that sounds strange, but it was because of financial situations too, right? But it also, you felt that nucleus, that nice family harmony, and you had a solid foundation to come home to at night.
right. And I think actually that's missing in our culture, to be honest. I do
Oh,
look at other people's cultures. Some people have large families that live together because of financial reasons. Other people have large families that live together because they like to support each other and they define their roles and everybody kind of they work together, but there's like this solid trust that you can
right.
have this safe space and you don't have to worry too much about things. Yeah, I get that. Okay, so what are you up to now? I know you've got the Innovation Hub in Niagara Falls, right? And that was your baby you created. I'm curious about how that came to be. And I'm also curious about how you find people to come into that program and what you're doing and how it all works.
Sure. So the Innovation Hub started in about 2014 with a partnership with Brock University and the District School of Niagara, where we tried to do education technology connected to the post-secondary students learning entrepreneurship. And I just caught the bug for it. I thought, this is amazing. It's not about technology, it's about people, processes, opportunity, dreams. And how could we create an atmosphere of critical thinking, design thinking inside of a lab that would help the students practice what they're learning in school. And from there, we ended up building several hubs. One with in St. Catharines that we called Excel North, and then we tried here down in Niagara Falls with the Spark Innovation Center, and they were community hubs. They were a little different than what exists in what's called the regional innovation centers, which are part of the province. It is a not-for-profit entity, but it was made to work with small business centers as well as education and also for aging well, the seniors.
Very, very cool. How did you bridge it between the young people and the seniors?
Well, that was difficult. So to start with, we started with something simple with the Cyber Senior Program. where we had grade 9 to 12 students, as well as first and second year college or university, help us go and help to create a cyber awareness, a cyber citizenship for seniors in different places, whether it was in, you know, they were in special living environments, and I hate to call them, but the older folks' homes and things like that, where they wanted to reach out to their family or their grandkids. And the old way they do it was with a landline phone. And so the kids would come in, the students would come in, show them what a keyboard does, what a monitor does, how do you get onto Zoom, things like that. And then they get to talk to their family and they feel less isolated. And then I found out something interesting is that we are the first generation to have, we are the first to have 5 generations in the same decade. We have the silent generation, which is the old World War II generation. Then you have me, the baby boomer. And then from the baby boomer, it goes all the way up to what they call Gen Z. And there's Alpha coming. Alpha is even brighter than Gen Z. I always joke, there's a lot of talent, unused wisdom, unused knowledge that goes away. And so what we did is we created this intergenerational innovation center where we get 60 plus individuals, male, female, that all doesn't matter, diversity, equity, we do it all. And we match them with the younger generation who will have this ambition to start something cool with technology and solve a problem or find a gap that needs to be solved. And you get that experience with ambition working together. And it's amazing the synergy that comes out of it.
Yeah, it is amazing. And when you're talking about it, it's like you said it was a challenge, which I can totally see. And what I was wondering about is who would be that person who is most passionate about connecting the elder generation and the younger generation? Asking specifically because I have a good friend who is in love with the idea of connecting the younger generation and the older generation to have people who want to be grandparents to younger people, or people who want to provide that kind of like older wisdom and that kind of relationship. Even the phone calls, right? So she wants to set something like that up, but she has no idea where to go. So do you know who would be a passionate person that they like to connect her with?
Well, I'd like to say me, because there isn't many of us doing this. There's a handful that I know of. The Cyber Senior Program, you can find it online. It's called Cyber Seniors. It's in Toronto and also in Niagara. So if they need any help, please feel free to contact me and I can make the connections. But Cyber Seniors is a really good program to start with. And there they can get community hour students from secondary school to help them.
Very cool.
40-hour community service, right? So.
And that's amazing. That's amazing. Like, I like to talk to people of different generations because they have different desires, different challenges, different, but they always have something of value to offer to each other. So yes. My friend, she sees this opportunity because in her social circle, she has a lot of friends who don't have grandkids. They wanted to have grandkids. They never had that. They want to experience just being able to like talk about, how like grandparent stories and like,
yeah.
Like there's this kind of bond that people have. And she's like, they're missing that. They don't get to experience that. And she goes, and there are young people like my kids, their grandparents passed away. Right. So it's like, there are people who are young that don't have that experience of having like a grandparent.
Well, the interesting part is that when you think about the new alpha generation, they're almost going back to our grandfathers or great-grandfather, great-grandmothers. They're the first generation to be born in a pandemic in a long time.
Oh, yeah.
Number one, and immersed with technology. I mean, they come in, I joke and call it iPad ready. And great, by the time they're 3 years old, they're like doing this already for, JK. Junior kindergarten. So it's an interesting, it's going to be an interesting dynamic as we go forward. But in my years of working with technology, I've seen each generation flow. starting from, like I said, the baby boomers, which is me, the older generation before that, the millennials, which is like 1991 to 2000. Then we had the Generation Z, which is 2001 to 2020s, and now Alpha coming. And what I noticed is really cool is that the Generation Z, I know this sounds like a comedy, but they look around and go, is there Wi-Fi here? Where do I charge my portable phone? I'm going like, I hope the ambulance can find me if I call 911.
Yeah, it's funny and sad at the same time. My daughter, she goes, I accidentally call 911 all the time on my phone. She goes, it like somehow it's set up on her phone where it like she pocket dials it, and she's like, I always have to try to get it to stop doing that. So
Yep.
I've never had that happen, but somehow her phone, she's got that. Yeah. So who have your mentors been, Dino?
Oh, okay. Well, first of all, I have to give my grandma, my mom, and my wife credit. I found that having them always at our side, because mom, dad worked, grandpa worked, and I got lucky. I lived in Italy when we had a nice core of family group with, and you always had that comfort. So I have to give credit to her. But a lot of mentors for me were. My grade 6 teacher was important when I went to St. Joseph's School. Then from there, I had a secondary school teacher in the biology department and the science department that made me feel like I should be learning more, understanding, reading books. And then from there, I went to the big names, like everybody knows, Tony Robbins, Tim Ferriss. I can name quite a few. Because I loved reading their books. I loved reading their business, intergenerational, as I like to call it, opportunities that they taught you how to take care of yourself physically, mentally, spiritually. So yes, I have quite a few. Yes, the harmonic balance is you're calling it, right?
Well, that's what I have. This is Harmonic Habits, and that's one of the things I help people with. And I've also, like you, had to connect with all kinds of resources and people out there so that I can learn these things to bring to other people as well. So Thank you for sharing those with us. Now, can I share a picture of, here's another party. We're talking about birthday parties. Here's your family.
Yes.
And it looks like you're here in the back, and then you've got oodles of children around you.
Yes. And it is actually a birthday party for my mom at the time. She's with my wife behind the camera, and we were celebrating, I think it was her 70th birthday. And we were all excited being together. We always had that group of the children. She loved being with them all the time. So that's what we did there. And we were corny with our little hats.
It's great. Like Clifford the Big Red Dog. I love it. And then, you've got Coca-Cola. Everything seems to match. The balloons, the sweaters, like everything seems to go
I think I should have, if I was smarter, back then, if I had the entrepreneurial spirit that I have today, I should have called Coke and got some money for the commercial.
Yes, exactly. You know what? Maybe you could still do that before we air this. I'm just kidding. And product placement. We did it, time travel. We just put it back in time, put it there.
Yes.
You are the technology guy, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So would you consider yourself an influencer? Because I know you've created some very big projects, and you have really made a difference for a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of students. Would you consider yourself an influencer?
I would say yes. I am an influencer. I look at the different industries that are out there. I look for, what kind of ideas, opinions, what actions are happening in different sectors, whether it's in the healthcare, automotive sector. I just eat that stuff up, and I hate to call it in those words. It's not a professional sentence, but I want to see what impact it's going to have now and what impact it's going to have in the future. So I look for signs of how can I be an influencer and let people know that they need to seek some guidance or advice into these new industry innovations, or what kind of conferences, what speakers can I start to listen to, who can I share some of my concerns about technology, or artificial intelligence, like ChatGPT? Do I go to a social media post? Do I look at the experts that are there? So yeah, I try to learn as much as I can so that I can recognize how I can be an influencer. And what I need to do as an influencer is I try to build a strong brand personally, but I want to create valuable content and engage it with others and make sure that they can use that content or the program or my experience for their passion projects or their industry that they want to, basically expand and build.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. It's like you go, you get the information, you assess things, you listen to what people need, you can direct them to the right things that they need because your experience, your life experience, right, your work experience, plus all of the information can help save them a lot of time and headaches.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah,
yeah,
there's a
I get
lot
that.
of it's nice when you can have someone who can help you bridge or leapfrog without
Mhm.
having to spend time, learning it yourself and then catching up again. Especially today, everything is fast. Everything
It
is
is. It is. I'm pretty excited about one thing. Like in one sense, I'm excited, very excited, and another sense about tech, I'm a little nervous about the future. For example, you were talking about AI and Chat GPT. So I am very shortly going to have automated funnels being built, automated processes. I've even been chatting with my AI salespeople recently. Now, some people are like, "Wow, that's a little too much," but it's what's happening. It's not going to stop now. So, do you have concerns about the future of humanity if and I never knew this show was going to go here. Okay, I'm just curious. Do you have
yeah, yeah. No, I
because you
guess
can't
I
tell.
have concerns. I've never voiced them. In my experience, I am concerned. I mean, I remember, as I mentioned to you, 1982, when I was trying to show a personal computer to someone, they thought I was crazy because they loved the mainframe, they loved the big disk drive, they're physical. And then who would know that it would come to a point where it become portable, and then from portable to palm held technology. Well, AI, artificial intelligence, machine learning, the machine can think very fast, like in
Way
super
faster.
milliseconds, microseconds. And my worry is that it could create a very intellectual brain that if we don't look at the privacy, if we don't look at the controls, the policies, the procedures, I'm concerned that can the machine take over? Is it I don't know, the apocalypse 666, which is an actual algorithm in IT 666, right? So
Okay, well, I didn't know that it was an actual algorithm in IT, but um, I know it spells mom 666 if you go on the telephone, and I'm like, well, all of us came through that, so
oh
um, anyways, yeah, no, I do have concerns because like they're getting to the point, or some places probably already are, where you can't tell if you're talking to somebody who is an AI person. Like it's getting that good, and you can tell from how a human would respond how to respond emotionally. So they could give you the impression that they're even responding emotionally. Like,
absolutely. Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, just look at the facial. There was one I just saw on Facebook a while ago or on LinkedIn where they took Robin Williams and Steve Jobs and they said, this is what he would look like at 80 now. This is what he would look like at 90. And I mean, when you see the artificial intelligence opportunities, the metaverse, this is the new thing coming, right? It's not just 3D, it's now the metaverse. You can actually immerse yourself in this imaginary, uh, amazing, uh, basically technical environment where you can feel and hear, and it's going to be incredible.
it's the holodeck. That was
Yes,
predicted a
it's the
long, long
holodeck of
time
Star Trek.
ago.
Yes,
Yes, I
yeah,
was a Star Trek fan.
me too.
Really liked
Me
that
too.
show. Yeah, definitely. Um, yeah, it's really neat. In Vegas, they're already doing a lot of shows. They've got this giant globe that they built, and all the
Right.
performances are going to be, animatronics, things like that. And so you could have Whitney Houston full on concert or any of the concerts. Like if you're a performer, you could have yourself done up.
Hmm.
And you could be sleeping or doing whatever with your life, and this person is now performing. They don't have to get sick. They don't lose their voice, things like that. It's interesting. So in one sense, it's like I could see how it would help. In another sense, it could be scary as F.
Yeah. But I also want to say the positive side, it's going to be amazing for the next generation for medical
Oh yeah.
opportunity for limbs, for folks with mobility issues. What's coming in medical technology is just so impressive that we will need machine learning like that and artificial intelligence to uh, diagnose or uh, try testing of certain things. And I know if it wasn't for some of the AI that we have today, perhaps COVID-19 could have been a lot longer than it lasted. So,
True. I never even thought of it that way. And I know that my last funnel would have taken a lot longer to build if I didn't use AI to help with copywriting. Just saying.
I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. So, what is your lifetime goal at this point? Like where you are right now, what would you be thrilled to achieve?
I'm looking forward, as I said, I'll be 65, Lord willing, on July 1st. And I'm looking forward to being more of a give first. I always loved giving first, but I couldn't do it when I held several high level, C-level positions and working and taking care of things with our family. Now that the kids are grown up and my wife is also a partner in helping me understand more on what I could be doing with technology and my knowledge and my business knowledge is I want to. One thing I'd like to do is create an aging well center and seeing how I could use this technology to help seniors in Niagara. And hopefully, I could start a different innovation space in that sector. So,
That's super cool. It's great when I come across people who have the wonder and invention kind of personality, right? Because I can see people like us, like I'm one of those people. It's like we experience something, we see a need. Like it's an automatic, like I see a need. And
yeah,
so you're approaching the age, or you're in the age where you're looking at that stuff. And so you're like, well, how can I combine everything and make it the best for other people? Right?
yeah,
It's not like a self-centered thing. It's like well, if I'm going to go through this anyways, let's see how this could be the best, not only for me, but like all those people, because I can see how I could make a difference for all of them.
yeah. And I'm not being altruistic. I've always been a problem solver. I don't know why I like that. It's not that I'm a good at math. I'm not. I was actually very poor at math, considering I'm in IT. But it just I love to look at a problem and say, what can we do here? And it's not just by myself. As I bring several different individuals in, right? I look at the female perspective, the male perspective, race, color, whatever. Say, hey, well, how do you see this? What perspective are you looking at it? And help me understand and how can we solve the problem?
Yeah. I think that's why I connect with you so much. Like, because I believe we all are gifted with value, every single person on earth. And it's just, what is it? And how do we tap into that? And we're all, I just love what you do and how you connect and you get the values and opinions and you find out how to make things work for everybody.
Oh, thank
I wanted to show a couple pictures again, if you don't mind.
you. Okay, go ahead. Oh my gosh.
You mentioned your wife, so I had to bring this one up. So where
Oh
is
gosh. Yes, this is Peggy. She is my wife, and uh, she is my partner. We balance each other out. She's a lot more, let's say, calm. She thinks things through. I'm ADHD. I'm everywhere, and we're yin and yang. We balance each other out perfectly with that. She's basically the rock of our family.
I love it. I love it. And I know you said you got in trouble for this picture. So what happened here?
We have four huskies, and I love to take them for walks. And one day I took them into St. Catharines at one of the parks, and there happened to be a huge little pond that was all mud, and I didn't notice it from the distance. By the time I walked up to where the dogs had run in the dog park area, they were swimming in mud, and I had to pull them out, and I got into a lot of trouble from Peggy with that one.
That's awesome. Was that at Burgoyne Woods?
Burgoyne Woods, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. They have that little tree area, and they went in there, and I looked and said, "Oh no, there's not a lot of water there."
That's awesome. That's a great dog park, definitely. Since we're on pictures, anyways, there's a couple others I wanna look at. There's this crazy hats and
Yeah, that was a baptism, and that's my son Anthony on the far left, and the other two are his friends, and we were silly. There was a one of those selfie picture uh, kiosks, and we decided let's be fun.
that's awesome, awesome, awesome. And then this one here.
Oh, that goes back. That's Ben McDougall. I do have to give a shout out to Ben. Ben wrote an amazing book. It's not that I'm selling his book. It doesn't mean anything. It's called "You Don't Need This Book." It's for entrepreneurs. It's amazing. It's all about his experience. I met him when we started doing Ultimate Gaming Challenge Niagara. We found that a lot of our young and students and young people alike love gaming. So I said, why don't, yeah. So why don't we create our own competition here in Niagara at the Niagara Falls Convention Center? It was going really well for 4 years. In there, we started looking at 3D, virtual reality, much earlier than anyone ever planned. And then we got swatted. I got to tell you that. What that means is we had made the circuit to go to Los Angeles. If you were a gamer and you won in our competition, you then go to Chicago, you go to Atlanta, then to Los Angeles for the $1 million prize. Because we made it, the U.S. calls it a swatting. They called the convention center, and it was 2015, I believe, and said that there's a gentleman with an AK-47, and he has 2 of the children in the bathroom. And the police came, the SWAT team came, dogs came. So we thought, okay, not in our bailiwick. So
Yeah.
we had to stop doing the Ultimate Gaming Challenge, although it was really growing powerfully in Niagara.
That sounds awful. I mean, I love the competition, and I would have loved to have taken part in that.
That was a terrible, that was a big mistake on my part. I should have known that we shouldn't have jumped into, the big leagues that soon. But it's a lesson learned.
Well, it's interesting because I've got somebody I met while I was in Las Vegas. Just recently, I interviewed him. He's from the Monster Museum, Tom Devlin. And he hand makes all of these characters for horror movies and things like that, right? And he also has all of these different characters from the various movies that are already out there in his museum. He wants to open up in Niagara Falls. And so we're looking at connecting him with the right people so that they don't try to crush what he's bringing to Niagara Falls. I think it's a matter of aligning the intentions to make sure everything fits. So maybe hindsight, do you think having conversations with all of those people ahead of time might have made the difference? Like you could have figured out some way to have it all work?
Absolutely. If I would have just sat out and said, look, I'm going to seek out some individuals, and we've achieved such great success, make sure that it's not gone to our head. They could have provided some guidance. They could have, professional jealousies exist out there. It's not that it's a negative, but they are out there. If I could have gone to some organizations, talked to like-minded individuals, I think I got hubris. I had an ego. Ben and I going like, hey, a young man from Iowa, a guy from Niagara Falls, Niagara, like, wow, look what we did, right? And so the ego took over. We just got blindsided and should have considered talking to a coach or a mentor or some professional organization saying, what are we getting into, right?
Yeah. And that's why it's important to have mentors, because a lot of mentors have been through these things. I mean, you didn't know at the time what you didn't know. So there's no way that you could have gone and done that.
No, that's true.
Yeah, I remember I hosted a charity event, like nonprofit, raising money for 10 organizations. And it was just to be able to have people come together and solve issues together. It was like resource sharing and stuff.
Yep.
And it was supposed to be collaborative. And this one bouncy castle company, they were like, I'm only going to be there if no other bouncy castle companies are there. And I can't be there because that person, they have balloons and things. And I was like, you're missing the point of this. This is about people coming together to contribute to people and to get along. I'm like, so that company, as like, they were so determined to dominate their industry, and they did at the time. But I was like, I will never hire this company because they
Mm.
were like, yeah, I crush the competition and stuff. And that may work for some people, but I don't think it's a good long-term strategy.
No, and it's like that book, "Who Moved My Cheese," right? It's like everybody. If you go move my cheese or you take something away, they become adversarial and competitive. And it is an industry. I'm not saying it's a negative thing. It's good for to be competitive in a way that you want to produce the best product, to become wealthy, philanthropist with it, whatever. But again, you're right. You have to be very careful when you're looking at these kind of situations and making sure that you're treading lightly.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also knowing your market. I think that was one of the things that I learned. It helped me to learn about markets, right? Because I am not that person's market. I am definitely not in their market because I want to work with companies that are more in the best interests of others, right?
Agree. Yeah.
So if there's a company and I find out that they're, I'm going to say douchebags. Okay, sorry about the term there. But if I find out they're not very nice, I'm probably going to either give them a talking to find out why and see if I can coach them through that, or I'll just move on to somebody else.
No, I agreed. I agreed. And you're right. And that's something that I must say I've learned with my 65 years is that um, I don't care what public opinion is. Henry Kissinger is one of my heroes. I look at what he's done, and that's one thing he always said. I don't care about public opinion. I care about what I can do to help or be right about something and pass it on to the right people. Um, be able to delegate where I need to, lead where I need to, support where I need to, and everybody will have their opinion, right? So,
Mm-hmm. That's true. They will. Speaking of business, what is your biggest mistake you've ever made?
oh gosh. Well, my biggest mistake was just recently, about 4 years ago. Um, I, I, I made a mistake in the sense that I should have uh, thought about when I'm doing things, how am I doing them, and making sure that everybody is involved or I've communicated with all the right people. And what I mean by that is I lost a lack of focus in what I was doing. I was putting off some things. I had a fear of failure. I was using poor time management, lack of planning because I got hubris. I thought, I know everything. I'm doing great. And I ended up with this negative mindset that created some problems for me, and the lack of accountability and the responsibility that I had at the time. I made some decisions and created a problem for myself. So what I learned from that is I had to take responsibility. I have to acknowledge that it was my mistake. It was a team mistake, but I wanted to own it first. I wanted to learn from that mistake, which I did. And I communicated to the whole team. And now I've learned to set clear expectations for myself, what I'm doing, making sure I'm following through properly, I'm planning things properly, looking at the different accountability compliances that are out there, just so I don't miss another opportunity and I delay progress for my dream or my goals as I go into my uh, final years and over 65. But yeah, it was a decision in the IT sector, in the education sector, with working with my colleagues at the C level, and I just lost a bit of accountability there.
Mm-hmm. Got it. So what structures do you have now that help you to stay accountable? And like, what advice would you give to somebody who may be either a younger version of yourself or somebody who is just getting into perhaps putting their giant dreams together?
Yeah, and it's exactly what you say is that um, when you're doing or you're working on things, think of all of the things that could happen in the sense of what's the risk of this decision, what's the risk of this idea, what compliances are in place, what check and balances are in place that you should know about. How do you, as I said earlier, set clear expectations so that you know who's accountable for each piece of the project or each piece of the uh, not project, but also the work that you're trying to get done. How do you follow through, and how do you keep track of that so that the actions are accountable and there's a record, and you basically are looking at checks and balances so that you're doing it right. And that's what I would show them is that we need to be accountable for everything that we say or do. And the opportunities are endless. It's just you never know who's looking around the corner and says, look, I found a gap. And then they tap that gap and you get yourself all knotted up and in trouble.
Yeah, exactly. And anybody I've ever met who's been super, super successful, they've had some giant, like, crushing of, like, they've learned some lessons the hard way, like, very hard way.
Yep.
Another thing is you're an inventive and curious person by nature. A lot of that risk assessment and being accountable and superstructure is almost like counterintuitive. Like it's not the way that it seems like you're naturally wired. So if you're like that, what would you recommend?
And that's a good point. And so what happens is to be creative, you have to break, I hate to call it the glass ceiling. You have to jump outside of the box a bit and look at it from a different angle all the time. And what I would recommend is making sure you've got a strong team that works with you, making sure that, yes, exactly, right. And making sure that you're always communicating with each other and you're thinking the different problems through. No different than looking at Apollo 13 movie where they had that box and they needed to figure out how to do a filter for the oxygen, and they threw this thing down, and they made a solution. And that's what you need. You need a strong team that is supportive and you can trust. Trust is very important.
I've recently started to find better ways to find my team. I know after this show, I'm going to tell you, like I'm going to show you, but it's from the what is it called? The 6 types of working genius. So if anybody is interested in that and they Google it, it breaks it down very simply, like 6 types of people. And I started doing this with my family and with all of the people that are around me. Naturally, I started finding the gaps in everything I've been doing. And I've also started finding the right people who are the exact people with the skills, but also the natural abilities and the interests. And having that, after already having the relationships with these people, it's just like my teams are coming together effortlessly. So
that's amazing. No,
yeah,
that's
I can't
good.
wait to show you because it's one extra tool that you can use to help entrepreneurs.
Absolutely, absolutely. I would love that, and anything like that would help. Definitely, because if you don't do something without looking at all the different possibilities or what might happen, might not happen, I know. Well, now with AI, it can help, right? You can pre-model any of your ideas, and see what the outcomes could be. But definitely, it's important that you have a strong team that you're able to open up your rib cage and not feel vulnerable that they're going to say it's a bad idea, and don't take it personally. Just work together.
Exactly. Yeah. Never take anything personally, ever.
Correct.
Ever.
Especially when you're problem solving.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay. So is there one question that I forgot to answer that you would like to, or ask that you would like to answer?
I think, how can I guess the question that I'd like to know is how can you take more responsibility when you're mentoring and coaching and making sure you don't miss something that the person you're helping really needed, because you get so involved in either the theory or a book that you've read, or like I like a book called Barking Up the Wrong Tree. It's an amazing book. I ask people to have a look at it. It challenges your conventional wisdom about success and happiness, and it tells you how to achieve some goals, and it uses the latest research in psychology and neuroscience. So I want to make sure, how do I make sure that I don't create that kind of issue for anyone I'm mentoring and coaching, because I get so involved in what I think I know and I'm the best at. And I want to make sure it's, a journey for them to be, as you call it, in a harmonic balance, in a disciplined structure that allows them to grow an amazing business.
Amazing.
So I know it's a long answer to your question, but what are the things that I don't know? What is it that I don't know? I don't know.
So were you asking me to answer that? Because I've got answers that came up, or were you asking me to ask you that so you could give your answers?
No, I was hoping this time I wanted to reverse it. I know you wanted
perfect.
me to find out a question for me, but I would love, because of what you've done with your videos and your harmonic habits, I know you've got something there that
I do. In fact, I had that experience happen to me a few times in my life. And one of the times I had a coach that I hired, and I paid very good money for her. And she was wonderful with helping me keep track of certain things. But there was a financial issue that was coming up repeatedly, and I didn't have the sales. I didn't know how to sell. I didn't have anything in that area. And I became very resentful because she didn't even look at that with me each week. So one of the things I would recommend is, even if the person doesn't have the skills or know how to do things, to really get to the core of what's beneath the root of the problem. So each week, my team and we look at all the problems and all the issues, but then we look at the biggest ones and we vote on them, right? And this is something you could do with your family. This is something you could do with your coach, but it's like allowing yourself to be vulnerable and really look. And it's like, well, what's preventing that? What's preventing that? And taking the most of the time, like looking at that part too. And then you can get into, instead of solving it right away, like discussing what the core issue of that issue is. And then instead of giving she had me focused in certain areas. For example, like I would be hosting events. And so she would have me focused on the event pieces. Where if I had have actually stepped back and looked at the whole overall picture and then chosen just the 3 things to focus on. I know you understand this concept from the EOS system. But if we had have looked at that, solving that financial piece I would have been able to hire her on longer. I would have been focused on the greater picture. So what ended up happening was I put all of my money and all of my energy and all of my effort into hosting these events and having these things happen.
I've been there. I call it financial exhaustion of this misconception to be successful and get the talent that you have out and working, right?
Yes, exactly. And the other thing would be to have a repertoire of things that you can give for support. Like I've spent the last many, many years getting training in all aspects. So now I'm actually a coach for Dan Locke as well. And I do high ticket sales coaching, right? But I'm now at the point where I've got the mindset, I've got the creative stuff. I know how to work with all the different personality types, things like that. But I also know where my skills are and my strengths. So I have a team of people who have other stuff, and I have them ready to support. So I don't have to go and take out of my own energy for the things that I'm not best at. But I also can look really deeply for what people actually need.
Well, thank you, because I think that's powerful to know, is that having the right, I want to call it the heads at the table, the answer will be in the room, or the challenge that you can't figure out yourself, or I'm too blindsided, could be addressed at the moment without getting yourself caught in any situation that delays the progress of what you're trying to build or do.
Exactly. And like what you were saying, Dino, is bring in a team. It's like, if you, other people will see what you don't. So do periodic assessments.
Right. And I
And
remember, sorry to cut you off there, the word team, if I recall, was together everyone achieves more.
Yes.
I remember that.
I remember that. And it's good if you've got the right people in the right places. And
So the
honestly,
last, sorry,
I finished
go ahead.
that. Like the first thing that I would go to, the very first thing is I would assess their core, like that 6 types of genius that I was talking about. If I had have known that when I was a kid, and it's so simple. Oh my God, it's so simple.
Right.
I would have been able to naturally and easily find the right people. I wouldn't have been worried about how do I pay them and all this stuff, because it's like it shows people this simplicity of aligning with the right people.
Mm-hmm,
It's
mm-hmm.
brilliant.
That makes sense. Well, I do have one dream I'd like to share. The final piece for me is I want to write a book at some point and share my life experiences and some wisdom and some of my personal journey as a young boy who came here on a ship from Italy to what this beautiful country's been able to do for me and my family and all my friends. And I think I want to write a book at some point.
Oh, that's excellent. And you said something. Okay, so here's 2 cool things. You said stay tuned for July or June 9th, because you're going to have your everything's going to be ready on your site. It's this one. Okay. But also on June 9th, there is a publishing conference. And here is, you might even have a chance to win a $50,000 publishing package as well.
Wow.
And you get to pitch your book idea. And it's really cool. It's put on by Top Talent, and they're out in LA, I believe. So friends of
Oh,
mine.
thank you for sharing that. Yeah, no, I started doing some YouTube called Creative Connections, bringing diverse people in, different cultures, different areas of business and even families, just talking about normal things and how can we everything happens with a creative connection, right? You get that connection, and there's complementary ideas that can come, and it creates that mosaic of like Canada, right? The mosaic of our population. It's also a mosaic of solving problems because everybody's got a different mindset or some intelligence somewhere that's there, and it comes out. So, yeah, it'll be called Dino Miele 360 because I'm going to show the whole 360 of who I am and where I could be of help and where I've learned through my mistakes, but also there's been a lot of success stories that I have never shared because I don't have an ego, I'll be honest with you, but I do want people to know I did something before
Before
I
you
have
kick
to
it.
depart the world. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Amazing. Amazing. And that's one of the first things that brought me to you, why I connected with you. You told me about that show you did. And I was like, I have the summit. It happens the first Thursday of every month. And it's also Creative Connections to help people with their dreams. So yes, definitely check out Dino's YouTube channel. Okay. I'm going to put that back up. It's called Creative Connections, and it's at Dino Miele 360. Right. And Dino, if you were to have one word, anything from A to Z, that's to bring happiness and success to people, their teams, and their families, what one word would it be and why?
I think it's hyphenated. Self-discipline. If you can have
Self-discipline.
self-discipline, you can have grit, you can make it through, and you will get what's called self-confidence. And if you have confidence, you can do anything. It's our lack of confidence. So here, now I'm answering it twice. The word is confidence. It comes out of self-discipline.
Confidence comes out of self-discipline. That's true. I always have this expression like, well, 2 of them is don't judge, just do, like instead of thinking about it too long. And also action breeds confidence. So doing the thing.
Right. I've
Yeah,
seen a lot of businesses fail because they weren't confident enough in their sales pitch and their product. And
definitely. Definitely. I'm just going to show people where to find me as well. So I got the harmonichabits.com. If you're a company and you want to find out how I could support you and your company with all of your employees and their families. I've got certain things that I can do to help you guys. And also, if you're interested in anything else I've got to offer, it's amythompson.vip. So, all right. Anything you want to say, Dino, before we close out the show?
Thank you so much. No, this was really good. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you to all of our guests who watch this. Thank you for being here. Enjoy your time with yourself, your family, and your work. And thank you, Dino, for being a fabulous guest for this. You brought a lot of information, a lot of perspective. And I'm really, really excited about everybody who connects with you and what you offer.
You're very welcome. I was honored to be here. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.